Okay, we are going to take a second to talk about how everything's organized. When you look at yourself, how is your whole entire living self organized? And we're actually going to go all the way back to the very tiniest thing. And a lot of kids say cells at this point, but I'm even asking something smaller than a cell that builds a cell. Like, what is a cell made of? So we're going to go all the way back to the very beginning. And we have what's known as the periodic table of elements. Hopefully you've heard of that word before. And we only have so many elements. Here's an example of the periodic table of elements. Using these elements, we can create the entire universe. It's kind of like a box of Legos, and if whatever you glue together, you're going to create all of the entire universe, depending on what you choose to glue together. So here's an example. I literally have some Legos. These are all my elements. You just saw some of them: carbon, oxygen, hydrogen. You can build the entire universe with these. There it is. Let's pretend that's an oxygen. Cool. If you glue them together, you're going to get the next level up. All right? So before we write that, let's write some examples right here of elements. Carbon, you have a whole lot of that in your body. Hydrogen, you have a whole lot of this in your body. Oxygen, you have a whole lot of that in your body. Spells CHO. Whole bunch of your body is made up of CHO. What's your name? What's your problem? Anyway, these are examples of elements, and I just told you that you can glue them together and you get the next level up. So, I have pictures of these. Here's one. Nitrogen. Sorry, that's an element. Oxygen. Hydrogen. Carbon. Phosphorus. You have these too. You have phosphorus and nitrogen as well. Those are elements. If you glue them together, you get a molecule. If you glue them together, you get a molecule. You can glue two together, or you can glue thousands together. Just like Legos, you can make a small structure, or you can make a huge structure. Here is a molecule kit. Each one of these represents an element. If you glue it together, you'll get a molecule. This is water. 1 oxygen, 2 hydrogens. This is carbon dioxide. 1 carbon, 2 oxygens. I glued them together. I have a molecule. Here's oxygen that you breathe, O2. Ozone is O3. If you breathe ozone in, you can die. But O2 is perfectly fine. Anyway, so each one is very different, and you can create all sorts of stuff with these elements. Just like the alphabet. There's only 26 letters, but if you start gluing them together, the amount of words you can make is limitless, especially since you can use things more than once. All right, so elements, if you start gluing them together, you get a molecule. Like water. 1 oxygen and 2 hydrogens, and it reminds me of Mickey Mouse. What's weird to me is if you glue them together in just the right order, it'll get up off the table and leave, popping off babies. So molecules, some of them like build a rock, but other molecules might build something like a cell. The molecules that build up a cell are now building something that is alive. So now we're talking about living things, and that's going to be our next level of living things. So elements glued together make molecules. Molecules glued together can make a cell. That's what your cell looks like in your cheek. We'll be looking at that in class. Here's a bacteria cell, a plant cell. This creature is only 1 cell big. You'll be looking at that under the microscope. And again, molecules are what build your cells. What molecules? Well, it's going to be the ones that you eat. So cells, this is kind of like a cascade. Elements build molecules. Molecules glue together to build cells. I'm going to draw a glue bottle. Okay, we're gluing stuff. How do you get the molecules that are going to build your cells? You eat them. Here's what they look like. This is weird. You eat DNA all the time. Any living thing that you eat has DNA. You eat it. You break the pieces apart and use it for your own cells and your own DNA. These are like breaking apart a Lego structure and using the pieces to make your own Lego structure. DNA is one. It's called a nucleic acid. Nucleic acid, Na. Another thing that you eat are carbs. Yummy. Bread, pasta, all fruits and vegetables, anything sugary, Skittles. Carbs. These are my favorite. Lipids. These are fats and oils. This is why our body craves things like brownies. Your body wants to, this is how you store energy in case you run out of food. Unfortunately, we don't seem to be running out of food very often because it's always at the grocery store. But if you run out of food, your body will use this storage. Proteins. Okay, so those are the things we eat. We eat protein like meat. Carbs. I love carbs because I like toast. Lipids. Those are the fats and oils, and I always draw this very bubbly to remind myself that those are the fats and oils. Little bubbles. And finally, that weird one, nucleic acids. Sometimes this is it. It stops here. You can have a living thing that is just one cell big. It's unicellular. Or sometimes it's many cells big like you. You're trillions of cells, and you are multicellular. All right, from here, if you glue a bunch of cells together, you're going to get the next level up, which is a tissue. You'll experience this at some point. Guys, if you're shaving your face, or girls, your legs, and you're shaving and you peel off a little tiny thin layer of your skin, that's a tissue. You should take it out of the razor and look at it. And I'm going to give an example of heart tissue. In class, we're going to look at an onion. We're going to peel off the thinnest layer. That'll be tissue. And if you put a bunch of tissues together, they build the next level up, which is an organ. In our bodies, that might be something like a heart. Heart by itself isn't going to be able to function, but if it's built with the whole system, it can. So cells build tissues, tissues build the heart. Or here's another organ, stomach. And if you put a bunch of organs that are doing a very similar job together, like the heart, all the blood vessels, you'll get another thing, which is a system. You have a bunch of these. I'll show you some examples. If you look at your entire skeleton, this is your skeletal system. One bone would be an organ, but the whole thing together is the skeletal system. Or all your nerves together, working together, is a system. This is your nervous system. This is how you have a sense of touch and stuff. Or, this has a couple systems on it. All these blood vessels, along with your heart, is your circulatory system. Your lungs, along with your trachea, is your respiratory system. All of these organs right here are part of your digestive system, and so on. Here's a muscular system. One muscle is an organ. The whole thing together is a system. Okay, so if you take that system, there's a bunch of them. We're doing the heart, so let's do circulatory. And you put all of the systems together, all of them, and they're all working together, you get the final outcome, which is you. You're the organism. Or a cat. Or a tree. Trees have all this same setup. They have molecules that build cells. We're going to be looking at plant cells. Cells build tissue. We're going to be looking at onion tissue. Tissues build an organ. We'll look at an onion. An onion is an organ. The system for that plant would be the root system, because the onion is part of that root system. Put it all together, you get the whole plant, the organism itself. I'm going to show this to you going backward. We're going to start with an organism, go down to the systems, zoom into an organ, zoom into a tissue, zoom into a cell, and zoom all the way in down to a molecule, which will be DNA. So we're going to show that on this iPad right now. Here we go. This is the organism. We're going to zoom down into a system. This will be the circulatory system. Each blood vessel is an organ. Now we went through some tissues, and we're going to go into one cell. Inside of a cell is molecules. DNA is a big molecule, but there's also a lot of it in your cells. So this is the molecule phase. Here's DNA, the molecule, which we'll be talking more about. This right here, which we just did backward, I call this CTOSO. CTOSO. Sounds like you're going to karate chop somebody. CTOSO. CTOSO. Cells build tissues, build organs, build systems, and build the organism. We are done for now with this. Stop.